Hola amigos, bienvenidos, welcome back to another episode of Serious Spanish. My name is Michelle, and today we are going to learn how to say and conjugate and use the verb to be in Spanish. Now, some of you already know that in Spanish there are two different verbs for the English verb to be, depending on how you want to use it. And those words are estar or ser. And we're going to talk about the differences of when you would use estar versus when you would use ser. And we're going to also practice some different sentences to help you get a little more comfortable with it. In Spanish, the verb to be can either be estar or ser. When would we use estar? Well, when we're talking about location, health, changing mood or condition, personal opinion in terms of taste or appearance. In other words, kind of more temporary conditions or describing how something is, that's when we would use the verb estar. Now, ser, on the other hand, is used when we are providing description, talking about profession, point of origin, identification, material, like what something is made out of, possession or ownership, where an event takes place. So in this case, ser is used generally when we're talking about a more permanent state or what something is. So don't worry. I know right now it's a little confusing, but we are going to provide examples and do some practice using estar or ser. But first, we have to talk about how they're conjugated. What does that mean? Well, when we see the verbs that end in an R in Spanish, they either end in AR, ER, or IR. That is what we call the infinitive form of the verb. In other words, the unchanged form of the verb. And it really is very much like our infinitive always has to be, to run, to sleep. Okay, that is the English infinitive form. In Spanish, the infinitive form of verbs end in AR, ER, or IR. So, when we say we conjugate them, that's when we change them to go with the subject of the sentence. Do you remember when we talked about personal subject pronouns? You're going to see them again. So to conjugate Spanish verbs, I always like to have this little grid or this table. It helps, if you think about it this way, every time you learn a new Spanish verb, conjugation or changing the verb forms is going to come very easily to you. And we're going to start by putting those subject pronouns in this table. Yo, tú, usted, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ustedes, ellos, ellas. Okay? We're going to put them in there like that every time we go to conjugate a verb in Spanish. Now we're going to conjugate the verb estar. So take a look. If we want to say I am using estar, we say yo estoy. Or we can just say estoy. We don't have to say yo. Because the only time you say estoy is when you want to say I am. Not he is, not she is, not they are. Estoy means I am in Spanish. Tú estás. You don't have to say tú because that verb conjugation estás only goes with tú. So you are, estás. The pronouns usted, él, or ella always take está. You are, in the formal, singular form, is usted está. He is, él está. She is, ella está. You could also say, the computer is. Okay, so you wouldn't say ella, you would say the computer, which if you learn the Spanish, la computadora está. So remember that these subject pronouns just replace the noun. They're a substitute for the noun, just as it or he or she is a substitute for the nouns they describe. Let's move over to the other side. This first side, this left side of this grid, these are all singular conjugations. When we move over to the right, these are plural conjugations. So plural, nosotros, remember that means we. Nosotros or nosotras, if we want to say we are, we say estamos, estamos. And you don't have to say nosotros in this case because estamos only goes with nosotros or nosotras. You could say, mi amigo y yo estamos. My friend and I are. Or you can say, nosotros estamos or estamos. Again, we're not going to practice the form of vosotros a whole lot because I'm teaching a more Latin American Spanish. And in Latin America, we don't use the verb form, vosotros. But if we were in Spain, we would say, vosotros estáis. Estáis. Great. And third person plural is están. So if we want to say you all, you guys are, ustedes están. They are, we say ellos están or ellas están. And sometimes if we understand who it is we're talking about, we don't need to put that pronoun. We don't need to say ellos. We can point to the group and say están ahí. They're there. Okay. So you don't always have to put these subject pronouns if it's understood what you're talking about. The verb, the conjugated verb alone can be the sentence. Let's move on and talk about, show examples of when we would use this verb estar. Let's put them into sentences. Okay, remember we said estar is used as location. So you can say, yo estoy en la oficina. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I want you to try to repeat it to work on your pronunciation. Yo estoy en la oficina. This means I'm in the office or I'm at the office. Okay? And you don't have to even say yo. You can say estoy en la oficina. I'm at the office. Because that's a location, we use the verb estar. ¿Están las niñas en la escuela? ¿Están las niñas en la escuela? Are the girls at school? Again, we use estar because we're talking about location. Okay, here's some examples for health. El estudiante está enfermo. El estudiante está enfermo. The student is sick. We use estar because we're talking about his health. The student is sick. Nosotros estamos bien. Or you can leave nosotros off and just say estamos bien. We are well. We're well. We're not sick. We're not bad. We're well. This is health. We use estar. We also mentioned changing mood or condition. So let's look at some examples there. ¿Está usted triste? ¿Está usted triste? Are you sad? Los soldados están cansados. Los soldados están cansados. The soldiers are tired. These things could change You're not always sad. The soldiers aren't always tired. But it's changing mood or condition, so we use the verb estar. Personal opinion in terms of taste or appearance. La sopa está rica. La sopa está rica. The soup is delicious. And rica also means rich, but it's used to say delicious. And we use estar because it's our opinion about the taste. La sopa está rica. Los muchachos están guapos. The boys are handsome. Los muchachos están guapos. Maybe they really fixed themselves up tonight. Combed their hair back really well. Wow, they're looking good. So we say, están guapos. Okay, we use the verb estar. Just to sum up, if you just remember, for more temporary conditions, how something is, we're going to use the verb estar. Now let's take a look at the verb ser. Again, it means to be. The infinitive unchanged form is ser. But we have to conjugate this verb to go with the subjects of the sentences. So we put up this handy dandy table again. Stick our subject pronouns in there and let's take a look. When we want to say I am using ser, we say yo soy, or we can just say soy. Like soy sauce, right? Soy. Tú eres. Eres. Usted, él, or ella es. Es. Not es. Es. Nosotros or nosotras somos. We are. Somos. Vosotros sois. Sois. Ustedes, ellos, or ellas son. Not son, son. All right, great. So let's look at occasions when we would use the verb ser. We talked about description. So you could say, el teléfono es negro. El teléfono es negro. The telephone is black. We're describing how the telephone is. That's kind of a a permanent trait of the telephone. It's black, so we use the verb ser, not estar. El teléfono es negro. Las casas son viejas. Las casas son viejas. The houses are old. We're describing them, so we say son, not están. We also use it when we're talking about profession. Son ellos médicos? And you don't have to say ellos. If we know who you're talking about, you can just say son médicos. Are they doctors? So doctors are the profession. Son médicos? Are they doctors? Yo soy intérprete. Yo soy intérprete. Or just soy intérprete. I am an interpreter. Now, you don't see a word in that sentence for an. I'm an interpreter. In Spanish, when we're talking about profession, we can leave that indefinite article out. Okay, that's what we call the an or the a. We don't have to say soy un intérprete. We can just say soy intérprete. I'm an interpreter. We also use the verb ser when we're talking about point of origin. So we say, tú eres de Venezuela. Tú eres de Venezuela. You are from Venezuela. Or we could leave the tú off and just say, eres de Venezuela. And it's understood. Tú. You are from Venezuela. You could ask, ¿de dónde son las cervezas? ¿De dónde son las cervezas? Where are the beers from? Okay, so we're talking about the origin of tú, or the origin of las cervezas, the beers. And so we use the verb ser. We also use this verb to identify something. For example, we can say, nosotros somos hermanos. Nosotros somos hermanos, or just somos hermanos. That means we're siblings, or we're brothers. ¿Es usted hispano? ¿Es hispano? Are you Hispanic? This is a way we identify, so we use the verb ser. When else do we use it? When we're talking about material, what something's made out of. Estas bolsas son de cuero. Estas bolsas son de cuero. These bags are made of leather. They're of leather. These bags are of leather, literally. So, son is the verb ser, and we're describing what material it's made out of. So we use ser rather than estar. Okay, another example. La silla es de madera. La silla es de madera. The chair is made of wood. It is of wood. Es. So we use ser. We also use this verb when we're talking about possession or ownership. El juguete es del niño. El juguete es del niño. Couple different things here in this sentence. This means the toy is the boy's. This will be another lesson, but we don't have an apostrophe S in Spanish to talk about possession as we do in English. We always say something is of the person, okay? And that construction is whatever it is, el juguete in this case, which is the toy. Es is de el niño, of the boy. And you'll see here an interesting thing happened. The word for of, which is they, and the word for the, which is el, combine and turn into a contraction del. So, el juguete es del niño. The toy is the boy's. And we use ser in this case because we're showing possession. Los amigos son de José. Los amigos son de José. The friends are of José. We use ser because possession. José's friends. We also use ser when we're talking about where an event takes place. ¿Dónde es la fiesta? ¿Dónde es la fiesta? Where is the party? This is an event, not a house, or that would use, remember, location, we use estar. But if we're talking about events, we use ser. And a party is an event. So, ¿dónde es la fiesta? We could also say, el concierto es en la universidad. El concierto es en la universidad. The concert is at the university. And again, because the concert is an event, we need to use the verb ser, not estar. To sum up, ser is typically used for permanent states or kind of describing what something is. I know we went over a lot, but you'll have lots of opportunity to practice Ser and Estar, and I want to thank you for tuning in today. Please remember to like this video and subscribe so that you can see future videos when they come out. Que tengan buen día. Adiós.